Alright, retro gaming fans, we're going to try something new and different for this channel today. Over at I Dream of Indie Games, it's not unheard of for a game to have demos or even some early access impressions. So that's what I'm going to do here today for an upcoming Game Boy Color game. That's right, there's a brand new game coming out for the Game Boy Color, and it's called Zephyr's Pass. Now, quickly, before we figure out if the game gets a pass or not, wait a minute, that could be good or bad. Man, this pun is already falling apart and I've just started the video. Oh boy. Well, anyway, did you know that we have a Patreon? Well, we do, and I'll give you some more information about that at the end of the video. On to some demo impressions for Zephyr's Pass. So for those of you that are wondering, yes, it is still possible to get newly made games published on the Game Boy Color and even the original Game Boy. Publisher Incubate Games has put out such titles as 2021 Moon Escape, Diffuse, Dango Dash, and even the upcoming Dragon M. What makes it even more special is the fact that not only are these games released digitally as ROMs, but you can also get physical versions as well. That's right, actual Game Boy cartridges. They even sell some cool little plastic cases that you can put the games in. And that brings us to Zephyr's Pass, a game being developed by Providential Innovations, which I believe is just a one-person team. For those of you keeping up with the more current retro gaming development, it was made using GB Studio, which was used to make various other games on the platform. The story is about a young hero who teams up with a small gang of pirates to defeat Thane, a man trying to become the Wind God. To defeat him, Abel, our hero, must become the hero of Zephyr by finding all the ancient pieces of his armor. One important note from the developer about the demo is that they have put the player at a later level with no story spoilers. It's also a bit more challenging and more representative of future areas. The demo starts off with your airship being in need of repairs and you find a small town to see if there's anybody there to be able to help you. Unfortunately, you soon find out that both food and supplies are scarce in this small town. They keep blaming it on being a slow season, but it seems there might be a bit more going on. The captain quickly puts you in charge to find out what's going on because, as far as I can tell, Abel is basically the stooge of the group. The gameplay is a combination of exploration, puzzle solving, and action, not unlike the early Zelda games. I'm sure that was a heavy influence on making Zephyr's Pass. It's quite apparent, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. While you will have access to multiple abilities and items in the full game, for the purposes of the demo, you will only be able to use your sword and later on gain the ability to use a shield. So much like the classic games that clearly inspired Zephyr's Pass, you're going to walk around town, talk to people, and get quests. Once you do that, you might find a dungeon where you're going to fight some enemies off. One button is going to do the sword, and the other button will do the shield once you have it. So the initial quests are pretty standard, where you're going to be walking around and talking to different townspeople that will let you know where to go next. Nothing all that thrilling or groundbreaking, but it does eventually lead to the dungeon, which was a lot more fun. Once in the dungeon, not only is that where you're going to find the action of fighting the enemies, but there's also a maze element to figure out where you need to go next. Eventually, this maze of a dungeon will lead you to the first mini-boss encounter. Once you learn his pattern and figure out what you need to do to protect yourself, hint, hint, you'll be able to take him out easily and be treated to the end of the demo. Both the graphics and sound are going to be limited due to the fact that the game is designed to be played with Game Boy Color hardware. There's obviously a charm to this, and there's definitely going to be a segment of gamers that are going to find it very nostalgic. Okay, confession time here. I have never played a Game Boy Color game, so unfortunately I cannot compare it at all to anything. I owned the original Game Boy and didn't have another Nintendo handheld until the Game Boy Advance. I personally enjoyed the look of the graphics and appreciated the fact that there was color since my Game Boy didn't have any, but the developers themselves like to hype the fact that these are some of the highest possible quality graphics you'll see. Zephyr's Pass is currently in development and promises 4 to 5 hours of gameplay and will be released in Q4 2023. You have the choice between a physical copy for $59.99 or a digital copy for $14.99. The physical version includes a sealed box, clear cartridge protector, instruction booklet, sticker sheet, and silkscreen PCB with artwork on the backside. The digital version will include the game ROM, a PDF instruction booklet, and game cover art. Now, I'm nobody special, so the demo is something that you can download yourself and try on your own. It does have you log in, but that's so that you can be kept up to date, including being notified if an an updated version of the demo is released. The demo is in ROM form, so you can use it on any emulator that you'd like, but you can also put it on a flash cart if you'd want to play it on the real hardware. One final note for me is that I did use 2 different emulators because the first one I used did have some glitches when it came to the text. I tried a different one and everything worked perfectly, so just be mindful of that if you're trying it for yourself. So what do you think? Have you tried this demo out? Is this a game that you're going to keep track of and maybe even pick up yourself? Are you thinking you're going to do it digital or physical? While you're thinking about that too, maybe you can think about doing our Patreon at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. By signing up for the Patreon, you'll be supporting us here at I Dream of Retro Games, as well as our big sister channel at I Dream of Indie Games. You'll gain access to all different kinds of perks like our Discord channel, exclusive streams, early access to videos ad-free on both channels, and more. Help bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming and help preserve history by joining our Patreon today. Thank you.